Good morning, everyone. So, this morning's theme is be driven into the desert. It seemed to me that this was an important theme for Lent, first of all, because of the historical accounts of Jesus beginning his mystery after a period of being in the desert for the symbolic time of 40 days and 40 nights. And secondly, you'll find in many different scriptural traditions, inspired traditions, mystical traditions, that the desert represents a very important time in our lives. And so, in the beginning of this series, because we're going to be together for a while, it seemed really a welcome opportunity to extend the invitation to be driven into the desert. And I put that phrase part in a particular way in that form, to be driven. Let yourself be driven into the desert. In the accounts we have of Jesus, he was filled with the Spirit. He was led by the Spirit into the desert. When the Israelites were freed from slavery, they were led into the desert. It can be easy to think that we choose our arid times, that we make the conscious choice to enter into a period of austerity and simplicity that's stripped of the normal sensual consolations. Choices that connote a desert-like experience. And that is true. We can participate in that, right? I know in the monastery, when it came time for Lent and Advent, we would strip everything. All the colors were gone out of the sanctuary. All the flowers were gone. We didn't play musical instruments. The way we ate was much more simple. So there is a way that we can choose an emptiness for the sake of fullness. But there are times as well that we're led into the desert. And very often when I work with individuals on their path, when they find themselves in periods of desert, oftentimes there is the interpretation that something's wrong. When they haven't chosen it themselves, when they haven't said, oh, I'm going on a retreat and I'm going to fast for 10 days. When they haven't chosen it for themselves, oftentimes they can wonder where presence is for them. What are they doing wrong? It's immediately positioned as something to get through, something to get out of, something that may be the result of failing. And yet in the account before Jesus goes into his ministry, he was filled with Spirit because he had just come from the baptism with John the Baptist. He was led by Spirit. The desert experience was an integral part of his union with the divine. So I ask you today, what is a way that you can open yourself to be led into the desert and to comply, to see it not as a failing, but rather as an ordainedly driven time for you. And maybe right now you're not in a time that feels particularly desert-like. Maybe you're in a time of great abundance. So you don't have to artificially be driven into the desert and make it up. But maybe you are experiencing in certain parts of yourself and or your life a certain desert-like quality. Reflect before we enter into this meditation. What is that like to your senses? What is that like? If you were to be completely in a desert right now, by yourself, nothing else around, what is that like on a sense level? What's the air like? Maybe close your eyes. What does it feel like having the sand beneath your feet? What does it feel like having the sun with no shade? And in your desert, does the wind blow? Is there any shrubbery? Is the temperature hot or bearable? Keeping your eyes closed, let the conjuring of your senses here move you into an imagination that you are indeed standing in a desert. In The Alchemist, the little boy, the shepherd, has one of his greatest breakthroughs when he is in solitude, looking out over the desert. Instead of trying to move into realizing he can work miracles, which to me represents us moving into using our skills and our gifts, being effective. He, just by his natural innocence and his deep, deep searching soul, lets all that go. And he has the experience that the soul of the world is the soul of God. And that his own soul is the soul of God. So let's stand collectively but individually and relax into our particular desert. As you stand in this conjuring up of desert, breathe with the air around you. And though your mind and your intention have drawn up sensible descriptors of desert, see if you can stand openly indifferent. If you sense emptiness, see if you can let go of that way you contain your desert experience. If you have any images or ideas that stand in an uncomfortable way, dry, barren, alone. See if you can let go of those descriptors that hold you back from experiencing the fullness of spirit in desert. Go willingly, knowing you are led. In the account of Jesus, we read that there was temptation that happened, that he was so immediate and present that he could see clearly the fundamental illusion that the world represents to humans. And as you stand in the desert, you too stand before your own misconceptions, your own limited thoughts about things. See them for what they are. You may have chosen to come on to this meditation this morning, but you were also led by Spirit. We all were and are. See in these morning moments if you can awaken into the knowing that you are being led by Spirit. Fecund with life, become the place of capacity. And breathe as the desert breathes. As we begin to end this meditation, this reflection, this contemplative stance, if you will, in the awakening of being led into the desert, awaken as well that this being led by Spirit is into the arms of Spirit. And if you can today, walk as though you are walking in the desert, breathing, standing as an open question with confidence. And in that fecundity, we bring this morning's time together to a close. I invite you to draw your palms together in front of your heart and to open your eyes with namaste. Namaste, my friends. Have a fantastic day.